Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV here, and I've been really fascinated with some of these Russian dashcam videos that have been coming out. A lot of them depict really bad driving in other parts of the world, but a lot of them also cover news events. In particular, there was a recent plane crash that was captured on one of these things, as well as the meteor that struck Russia. There were dozens of videos from these little cameras, and I found a great website called Dashcam Talk to try to find out which ones were the best out there at the moment, mainly because it's really hasn't been a mass-marketed item here in the United States yet. And the one that they really liked was the F500LHD, and this is apparently made by a whole bunch of different manufacturers, and they recommended an eBay seller that was on their site here along with some samples called eStore009. And I went out to eBay and found this camera, which is it looks a little bit different, but it is the actual one. There's a couple of counterfeits apparently on the market also. And I put it through its paces, and it's pretty neat. Basically, I'm going to switch over to the camera here. We can actually connect it to our camera switching apparatus here in the studio. And as you can see, it's a pretty wide angle image that you get out of this thing, which is kind of needed because when you're in a vehicle and you're trying to capture a lot of what's going on, you need a really wide angle shot. And that would be a lot, very similar to what you would see with a GoPro camera. It gives you that kind of view. It doesn't have the GoPro price though. This thing was only about $90, $95, and it shipped directly to me from Hong Kong. So it's you just got to be careful, where you do business here. But the place that I bought it from, at eStore009, seemed to get me the camera in a reasonable length of time. The video image quality is really good, and I'll switch up to this one here of me just driving to work one day, and the quality is great. It shoots at 30 frames per second at 1080, so it's essentially 1080p. It doesn't have the 60 frames per second, but I did find that the image quality is good enough to capture license plates and that kind of thing. If you're certainly seeing an accident or something happen, you could really get enough good video out of it to identify who's in it. Another video here that I took is in the evening, and it loses a lot of video quality at that point, of course, and few cameras do very well at night. This one doesn't do particularly well at all. In fact, all of that resolution in seeing those license plates and whatnot kind of goes away when you're out in dark conditions. But nevertheless, it could capture an accident or something like that, and hopefully be enough for your insurance company or the police to know that you were not at fault. The camera, it records about, I have a 32 gigabyte SD card in this one right now. It records about 8 hours on each card, so that'll certainly cover your morning commute quite well. And what it'll do is I have it set to record in 15-minute increments, so it'll basically delete the oldest file and keep going. So it's got a bit of a recycling quality to it. So if you really don't want to bring the camera in and clean the card off every couple of days, you don't need to do that. In fact, it'll continually run like that. The camera does come with some neat stuff in the box. In fact, I was surprised how much it did come with. You get, it's unlike US products where you have to buy everything separately. You get a charging thing for the cigarette adapter, and you've got a lot of room here on the cable, so it's really quite useful there. You get a suction cup holder for the windshield, so you can put the camera in there. What's interesting is that the camera can go upside down or right side up depending on your windshield configuration, because it is a bit long. So what you do is you basically snap it into the thing here, and you could flip the camera upside down while you're driving and flip the image in the menu to set it to that setting. I just leave it right side up, but you can certainly do that. And it's also got some stuff for people that are out and about. It's got a little carrying case here. It has, believe it or not, an HDMI cable to plug it into your television or your home studio. AC adapter with USB, so you can charge it at home. It has a lithium-ion battery similar to a Nokia phone, because it actually, I can't open it up right now, but it's basically a Nokia cell phone battery that's in there. It has a USB cable for connecting the camera to your computer for data purposes. It's got a little clamp here and belt clips, so I guess you could presumably walk around with it, which would be kind of creepy if it's not creepy enough recording everything your car is doing. Wrist strap, so you can wear it around your wrist like maybe a flip cam back in the days of 3 years ago. And of course a composite video cable, so you can plug it into a standard definition television. So it really comes quite complete. So I also wanted to just show you some of the menu functions on the camera here. So we're going to switch over to that. So here is the menu options that you have on the camera, and it's got quite a few, more than I thought it would have. The first is the resolution, and you can set this thing to 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second, which is the default, and that will store again about 8 hours of video on a 32 gigabyte card. And if for some reason that you needed more storage on that card, you can reduce the video resolution all the way down to 320 by 240. And it can go to other HD modes like 1280 by 720, and actually at that mode, the 1280, you get an even wider image, but for me I found that the 1920 works fine. You could also record that 1920 resolution at 15 frames per second. You really want to get the highest resolution you can, mainly because you're capturing a lot of detail in these videos, or at least that's what you need to capture for the reasons why you would use it. And to that end, they also recommended on the website I showed you turning the sharpness to hard. And there's actually some really good tips on that website on how to set this camera up, which I'd recommend using if you're thinking of getting one. There's a bunch of things like effects and scenes and ISO settings. I leave most of those on auto. Duration means you could set how long it records for before it shuts off. I turn that to no because you want it to record the full length of your travels. The one thing you do have to do is push the record button to stop it when you do get to where you're going. I do have it set though to automatically start when it detects power on its USB port, which I have plugged into the cigarette plug on my car. Recycle is an important feature also, because what this does is it determines how long the files are that it's making. So even though it's going to record endlessly, it's going to create a new file every 15 minutes. And the cutover time is very quick, so you're not going to lose anything. And the reason why I'm doing this is because when it does fill the card up and it goes back to delete things, I want to have some flexibility in how often it erases my files. So it'll basically eliminate files every 15 minutes as it fills the card up. So you don't have to worry about losing a huge recording if you're trying to keep a record of things. USB-in basically means that when I plug in the USB, it turns the camera on. It'll shut down after 10 minutes of no use. Video flip is how we would flip it upside down like I showed you before. It also has a motion detection feature, and I could see this being useful for maybe if you're worried about your car getting dinged, you could set the camera up out the window and have it only record when somebody walks by. So it's got some other security features like that. Another important feature here is the microphone, because it has an onboard mic that will record everything that's going on in your car. So if you don't want to record private conversations on this thing, I would suggest to turn the mic off so you don't have all of that going on while you're recording. There's a few other features here. There's volume there's an internal speaker, English language, of course, the date and the clock. And as you saw in my video, you can overlay the clock and the date on the video as you're going, so that's kind of useful for record-keeping purposes or for determining when an incident might have occurred, so I would recommend leaving that timestamp on. So that's the F500LHD. It is a dash cam that a lot of folks in Russia and other places are using extensively. It's coming from some unknown Taiwanese manufacturer, but it's important you get it from the right place so you don't end up with a counterfeit. And apparently there are plenty of counterfeits out there. The gals at Dashcam Talk did an extensive review of this thing, like I mentioned before. So I definitely suggest going to that website and checking that out. You get a lot of sample videos, a lot of instructions as to how to use it properly, and also reviews on a number of other dash cams that they liked as well. A lot of them were more expensive or didn't have quite the video quality that I was looking for. So for me, this one worked out pretty well. And from what it looks like on the internet, there's quite a number of these currently in operation as well. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching.